Alrighty, guys, a very warm welcome to the video. So this popped up on my YouTube news feed, and a guy by the name of Simon Shi, SHI, who's a professional triathlete from the United States of America. And this title of the video is How I Became a Pro Athlete in 7 months. So I'm assuming he was not a athlete or even a triathlete beforehand and then became pro in 7 months. That's my assumption. I have not watched this video, so I'm just going to be doing a reaction to it. And it's just very interesting because I think that, like a lot of things, things should be taken slowly, and we should always build up slowly with respect to our development in any sport, particularly if we don't have a background in the sport, swimming, biking, running. You don't want to overdo it, and you don't want to be trying to rush things too quickly. However, that's not to say that it can't be done. And that's why I want to try and, just react to this video, play through it, give my thoughts and opinions on it, and let you guys have a watch of the video in the process. So we'll start the video from Simon Shi, and I will link his YouTube as well in the comments for anyone who's interested in watching this without, my commentary on it.
Exactly 2 years ago, I started my triathlon training with Coach Natasha on NVDM Coaching. Now, I just signed with my first professional triathlon team for the 2023 season, the Diamond Factory Racing, presented by Good Life Brand. Here's how I went from complete beginner to professional status in less than 2 years. After completing my first season as a professional triathlete, I'm back where it all started in Orange County, California. This is the garage where it all started. I was watching Nick Bare on YouTube, and Nick Bare shouted his coach out, which was Natasha at the time. I then reached out to Natasha and connected shortly after. She had Ironman Florida in November of 2020, where she finished under 9 hours and 30 minutes. I'm like, wow, hopefully one day I'll get to that time.
Just to interject, this is so funny that he mentions this because I am a fan of Nick Bare. I think he's puts out some great content that is very motivational, very inspiring, and I think is an all-around overall, tough guy who likes to push himself, and I do admire that. Obviously, there's different opinions on whether or not he is taking more than just his supplement line. However, at the end of the day, it's none of my business, and I'm not going to comment on that. And I think that overall the message is fantastic. And actually, I was watching some of these videos when he was changing coach to this Natasha lady, and it actually really going from a less structured program to a very more structured program. And I think that's one of the things, actually, if you are looking to accelerate your pathway in the sport or progress through the sport from an age grouper to a professional, if that's your absolute goal, I do think that getting a coach is one of the best places to start, particularly if you don't have much experience in the sport. If you've been in the sport for a while, you understand your body and training, etc. Maybe you don't have to rush into doing it, but I do think it can accelerate your progress because it's going to give you more structure. It's going to allow you to kind of take that mental load of worrying about what training you should be doing and just kind of applying yourself and doing the training and trusting the process. But that's provided that the coach works well for you, and realize as well, one coach may not work well for every single athlete. Everyone's different. Coaches will have different philosophies, and ideally be able to work with athletes at different levels and adapt to suit their individual requirements based on their genetics, their potential, their ability, and the training they respond to. But realize that, you might not find your best coach for you with the first coach that you do kind of, employ to coach you.
Nick Bare has an amazing story where he did his first triathlon as an Ironman. And since then, I've been proudly sponsored by Nick Bare's BPN company and Natasha's NVDM coaching team. Shortly after Natasha's Ironman finished in Ironman Florida, we started December 1st of 2020 right here. I learned all about using a heart rate monitor and knowing how to use it, running technique, bike pedaling efficiency, training period.
And I guess one of the quickest ways that you can end your passion for triathlon or cycling in general is not wearing bike nicks, because that's going to be the fastest way to chafe up. So if anyone's new to the sport, before you kind of start training, the best thing you should be doing is getting a good pair of solid, decent, high quality bike nicks to make the process a lot more enjoyable for the under regions.
Periodization and much, much more. I had no clue what I was doing and was excited to learn more about the biking and running part of the sport of triathlon. All right, so we got a water bottle here, 20 to 28 ounce, and then Go One More BPN electrolytes here. We're going to start out with a 15-minute warm-up. My long runs would be holding roughly 9 minute per mile pace or 5:35 minute per kilometer pace for 11 miles at an aerobic pace of 150 heart rate. Today, at the same heart rate, I would be going around low.
And just that in and of itself, to be starting out doing that pace at that heart rate, it seems like he's obviously got a decent level of baseline fitness. I'm not sure if he was a runner prior or had some prior experience in any of the sports, but it seems like to be holding that heart rate for that pace when you were previously not doing any running, that's quite impressive.
6 minute per mile pace. I also remember buying a static trainer for my bike. I was so excited and felt like a pro riding the static trainer for the first time. Told my coach about it. My coach also gave me a recommendation to get a smart trainer. Shortly after, I sold my static trainer and got a smart trainer, the Saris Hammer, on Facebook Marketplace for $650. This would be one of the key moments of my triathlon career. Back then, in November and December of 2020, I actually did not have a job. I had a job that started that summer in 2020, but because of COVID, it never started, and I was stuck, I was unemployed, and I was in the process of getting a new job out of college. I had some money saved up, but not a lot. This mindset of giving it 100% into the sport, knowing that one day I want to become pro. I invested in a monthly coaching subscription plan, Coach Natasha in this case, and I invested impulsively into this bike trainer because I trusted my coach. I told Natasha my goals, my aspirations, and my dream of becoming.
And just to jump in again, I think that that's actually a really good mentality to have. He's finished his degree, he's done his studies, got his qualifications, and obviously COVID gave the opportunity to really kind of put the head down and pursue this 100%. So that was like an opportunity that was taken by him. I think that's fantastic. But I do believe that, if you're out of school or, you've got this mentality of giving it 100% to really get there, then you do kind of also want to think of like even the top pros, if you're not in that kind of top 10, best 10 in the world, it's very difficult to make a very, a very abundant amount of money from triathlon, and therefore you always want to have a backup plan, or at least something on the side that is going to bring you some income, because training and racing is it's an unreliable way, because you can get injured, and then what are you going to do for an income? So it's good to have this backup plan, and this seems like a very, very smart move.
Becoming a pro one day in the sport. Having this mindset of giving it all 100% all in into the sport, having a dream of becoming pro, served me well when I started my first triathlon race in May of 2021 in St. George, the 7.3 half Ironman, and carried throughout the 2021 season. I became the athlete I am today because I am very proactive and I learned by doing. 2 weeks into training in December, I asked my coach, hey, how about I do a half Ironman? It's going to be near where I am right now. It's in St. George, Utah, which is very drivable. She said, sure. So I signed up with my friend from Virginia Tech. He's also a Rubik's Cuber. It's going to be our first triathlon together, a half Ironman. That's when we signed up together. We were on FaceTime call and the game was on. My goal was to beat him. His goal was to beat me. The results from the Ironman 70.3 St. George on May 1st, 2021, which was my first race, he did beat me. And I finished in a time of 4 hours and 50 minutes, cramping up really badly on the run, running a
So 4 hours 50, not much training, and your first ever half Ironman. I think that's very, very impressive. Anything under 5 hours, particularly, people will train for years and not go that quick. So it's a very impressive debut. He's come 7th out of 84 in the 18 to 24, so still quite young, obviously out of college as well. And some good going through the splits. I mean, just first off, the first thing I see is a 25-40 swim. So that's 120 pace per 100. That's very, very quick. So, he's obviously got a strong swim background somewhere there, but you don't just roll up and swim 120s off the bat. A 2:29:50 bike. So that's quite impressive again. 2.5 hours is 36 kilometers an hour in the ballpark of. So, that's a very, very strong ride. And then a run of 1:48. So, and, mentioned he struggled, cramped up. And that even in and of itself, going under 1 hour 50 is, super, super impressive, particularly for your first one without a background in the sport. So really good performance in his first race, and shows that he's got a strong potential and a good engine, particularly with that swim.
A 1 hour 48-minute half marathon. I didn't sign up for any other races other than that, but later that day on the race, I found out I qualified for the 70.3 World Championships in St. George, the same course, in September of 2021. So I took that opportunity, I used my credit card, paid the Ironman, and signed up for that race. So from May to September, I was preparing for that. But I love to race. Back in the college swim days, we would race almost every weekend, back to back, dual meets every weekend, racing this, next week traveling to like Duke or Ohio State for a swim meet. It was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun doing it because you learn by doing and making mistakes from racing. So I signed up for more races around the Arizona area. Arizona has a great triathlon community, and there's a lot of local races that happen during the summer. So I did one in June, July, and August to prepare for my half Ironman in St. George, which is the World Championship. I'm very new to the sport. This is my first year doing it. And with all the races, I keep learning some stuff. For example, the second race I did was an Olympic distance in Show Low, Arizona. And I actually biked off course. I was in the lead for swim, as expected. I got onto the bike. I was the lead bike, but I kind of didn't know the direction. I biked an extra 5 miles in the Olympic distance, so that's around 30 miles total instead of the 25-mile distance for the bike, and got fit. The takeaway from that: always drive the bike course if you're expected to come out in the front pack in the swim. So I know the routes because there's no one in front of me. I'm the only biker up front, and I just made a wrong turn.
And that tip of always driving the bike course, I believe that, obviously, if an Ironman or a triathlon, this was an Olympic distance, more of a local race, maybe it wasn't so clear as to where they should be riding. But I think in general, you probably shouldn't be biking off course in one of the more higher profile races, for example, a 70.3 Ironman or one of the challenge races or a full distance, of course. However, even just driving the course, I think, is beneficial regardless, even if it's not for the sake of not getting lost. Just having a look at the terrain, the road surface, is there any potholes, knowing where they are? Is there rollers that you think, okay, well, I'm going to push over these, maintain speed, and then I'm going to recover down? Just have a general idea of how you're going to kind of attack the bike course and plan that out, even just in your mind, I think can be super beneficial and give you a lot of confidence. And, because having a plan can give you a lot of confidence leading into it versus going in blindly and just, pushing in an area and going a little bit above your threshold in an area that may not have reaped you all that many rewards, and then kind of realizing, oh no, I've turned a corner now, I've got this massive climb, but I'm already kind of maxed out. So just being aware of, okay, there's a climb here, rollers here, corner, sharp turn, road's pretty average or road's good. Very, very important for having the best race possible, I think, really mapping out the bike course.
I also got an email from the Ironman saying Ironman Arizona has a couple more slots opened up in July, and Ironman Arizona is November of 2021. I asked my coach, I said, what's the pros and cons? We listed them out. I signed up immediately. So in my first triathlon season, I would have done a sprint triathlon, Olympic triathlon, 70.3 half Ironman distance, and a full distance Ironman, all in my first year of racing. And I came in top 5 for pretty much all the local triathlons I did in Arizona. From May to November 2021, those 7 months of racing, I gained my professional card for the United States of America in 7 months. I qualified using the point system where I need 2 races above the 104.7 points, USAT points ranking. I got those points through the 7.3 World, St. George, in Ironman, Arizona. It was not easy getting that pro card. I had several injuries from running, shin splint, because this is my first year of mainly hard running. So the more I ran too much, like 40, 45 miles a week, I would get injured and get a shin splint, or my other feet problem that I had during the build up to Ironman Arizona. But lots of problems. And the key for me was to ask lots of questions to my coach. You should find a coach where you're comfortable asking those questions. Don't be afraid to reach out. Be proactive.
I do just want to jump in and say that, you know, from a longevity perspective in the sport, if it's your first season, obviously, you know, doing a half Ironman, doing a full Ironman in your first season, yeah, many people do it. It is a lot. It's a lot of strain on the body, particularly if you don't have a running background. You know, it's like you could probably do the swim and the bike at least every single week, or most decently fit people could. But to do a marathon off of that is where the damage really comes. So doing a Ironman, and then obviously now his first season of triathlon and Ironman racing, running, I think he said 40 to 45 miles a week. That is a lot of miles and a lot of kilometers without a running background. And when the body's not adapted, the bones don't have the density in the right areas, and the remodeling and the muscles and tendons and ligaments aren't strong for running, which is extremely demanding on the body. I do think that that's a lot, but obviously, you know, and I would say for the average age grouper who does aspire to be a professional, go slowly. You know, I had a very similar mindset, and in my second season of triathlon, probably after only really after 12, 13, 14 months of racing, I ended up breaking my hip. I had a femoral neck stress fracture because I was running and my body just wasn't used to it. Done heaps of cycling, but that doesn't build the bone density you need. So just be very careful with increasing run volume. You know, swim and bike, it's kind of, you can get injured for sure and overdo it, but it's not weight bearing, and running is weight bearing. It's very, very easy to get injured, particularly if you don't have a background and a foundation in the sport. So I wouldn't recommend doing this or taking this approach for any age group athletes. However, that's not to say that it can't be done. And hey, this mindset has obviously gotten Simon to professional triathlete, qualified him to become a professional triathlete only within 7 months. And I think that, you know, full credit to him and absolute kudos. And I think that's, it's bloody amazing. So super, super, super impressive.
Do my own research first. An example would be, how much water should I drink in an Ironman? I'll Google that, see what other people are drinking, what other people are taking in, what kind of supplement they're taking in during this 112-mile bike ride. And then I would gather information, and then with the information I have, go ask my coach, so that we don't kind of waste each other's time. I came prepared and she can answer all my questions. The other thing was racing. I raced at least once a month in those 7 months of triathlon racing. And after each race, I would know, how can I be better in the swim? How can I be better in the bike and run? What did I do wrong? What kind of nutrition can I take in better so I don't have stomach problems or I don't cramp up during the run? These are the questions you got to be asking yourself after each race. And finally, just working hard day in and day out. You don't need that one big session that makes a difference. You need good sessions every day, every week, every month. Once you have that solid base, you are pretty much in a good spot of training. Coming from a swim background, a collegiate swim background,
that is so true. That is so, so true. It's the compounding effect of many sessions, which builds endurance and builds strength and tolerance to the workload, than just a one-off random big session, which you go and do and then takes a long time to recover from, and then you go to another big one. Doing more regular sessions and building up and compounding those over time is really how you build endurance the smart way. So obviously he's done it very quick, but that mentality of, it's not one session that makes you a champion. It's the combined cumulative effect of hundreds of sessions over the course of days, weeks, months, years that really, builds the strength and endurance. So I really like that.
I had the swimming part. So I've been swimming for 14 years at this point. So it took me 14 years to be the swimmer where I am today. So if you're just starting out swimming and you're 2 years in, learn the technique and just keep swimming. The same goes along with the bike and the run. Natasha always said to me, it's not if you will be great, it is when you will be great. So that's the key term that we keep using. I just got to put in the work, every day since I've been running and biking for 2.5 years, while other people have been running and biking 10 plus years. So my sport age is relatively low. It's 2.5 or 2. That is how I became a professional in 1 year of racing. I just finished my second year of triathlon and first year as a professional. Just signed with my first ever big pro contract with Diamond Factory Racing Team, and I'm excited for a new chapter of my life. Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Follow my journey. Let me know.
So we'll wrap it up there, just for the sake of time. But I mean, I think there's many things to think about here, and I think that for someone like Simon Shi, who had a background in swimming, it's very important to consider, if you have a background in one of the sports, how that's going to impact, if your goal is to become a professional athlete, how that's going to impact your capacity to do so. Because the swim, whilst it's non-drafting, in Ironman, for example, there's a 12-meter draft rule. And so if you can work within those legal guidelines of 12 meters, then that is going to be it's still a significant advantage than riding by yourself. So the fact that he had the swim background and is a very strong swimmer, I think would have accelerated the pathway to becoming a professional, because you're going to be able to swim with the front guys, or at least with that front group, or amongst the top swimmers. And being able to do that is going to allow you to get out on the bike with them. And then swimming and biking, I do think the systems are very similar in the sense that it's aerobic capacity and it's strength, but it's not so much weight bearing and like long-term building of the bone density, etc. of running. You can kind of build the bike, at least some mild, moderate bike strength, relatively quick with consistency. So being able to ride a 210 bike split is going to be a lot easier if you're riding in a front pack doing that of professional athletes than it is to go out on your own as an age grouper, or on your own as a professional coming out behind those front guys in the swim and now being solo. So I do think that being a good swimmer is important for being a professional athlete, a professional triathlete, I should say. It's not always essential. There are guys that can kind of close the gap on the bike, but it does definitely put you in a good position to make that switch, because you're not worried about the swim, and therefore really you're not too stressed about the bike, because that speed and strength comes quite quick with consistency. So, and just time in the legs. Obviously then you can think, well, I'm going to be getting off the bike hopefully in time with those front guys. Now I just got to focus on the run. So I do think that that's a big advantage over someone who's, for example, a stronger runner, but can't necessarily have that, or doesn't have the speed in the swim and strength on the bike. They're coming out the water behind, and then they're chasing solo. Whereas those guys who are already super fit and fast are all working together, really, legally, but hopefully, but to get that advantage. So I think that being a strong swimmer versus being a strong rider or runner, or particularly a strong swimmer versus strong runner, you'd probably say that it's going to be quicker to transition into the pro ranks being a stronger swimmer, because the net benefit of coming out with those front guys will be greater overall than having to do the whole thing solo, basically. Doesn't mean that overall and in time and like the net outcome may be different. The strong runner might be able to become a good swimmer, etc., or vice versa. But I do think that from a absolute time in which you can become pro, I think that the swim is important. And it's something a lot of people struggle with. You can be a very strong bike runner, but if you're not coming out in front, you're kind of chasing and you're on your own, and you are at a loss, because those front guys are also strong and they're also getting that advantage of being in that group. So yeah, I really enjoyed that video. I will now follow Simon and follow the journey. I think that's really cool. Professional athlete from the United States. And it'll be very interesting to see how he goes. And I just think, full credit to this journey. It's absolutely awesome what he's doing and what he's done. But for the average age group, I still think, go slow, treat it like a journey versus a rush to get there. Because particularly if you don't have a background in running, you want to always take it very slowly and be very gentle on your body, because the last thing you want to do is get injured, because, getting an injury will often set you back a significant amount of time, depending on what it is. And the last thing that is going to help you to become a better runner or a triathlete overall is not being able to train because you're injured and need to recover. So yeah, really good. Awesome video. I'll link his YouTube, because I've watched his whole video, and I don't want to just be stealing content, but I'll link his YouTube in the description for anyone who's interested. And yeah, I think go check it out. This is the first time I've seen him and the first time I've seen this video. So very, very cool. Thanks, guys. Take care. And I'll see you in the next video.